Welcome back. This is The Poet is a Human with the philosopher Dunamis on this week's episode number 19. Y'all, we are one away from 20. Really excited. Fight for trade. Please be sure to hit that like button on your way in. And if you like us, consider subscribing to keep up with our episodes on YouTube and give us a follow on X.
Fightcast is here to empower individuals to live healthier, master finances, pursue dreams, and inspire others through self-awareness and global impact. This is for entertainment and educational purposes only, and not financial advice.
Dunamis, what's happening?
Oh man, it's crazy this week. It feels a little nuts, doesn't it, with all the stuff in the news about all of this that we're talking about tonight has been it's been a little all-consuming, I think, and I'd like to say that I'm doing great. I'm just all right, I'm doing all right. I'm hanging in there. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing fine, doing just fine. I have been staying away from the news because of those reasons, so I can do my own research, have conversations with some people that are smarter than our news media cast. Oof, fight me in the comments.
It doesn't take much.
I know. I'm gonna go ahead and start it off early and get these gloves off right now.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling great, man. I released a project just because y'all. And y'all is not in the title. It's just because. So it's on all streaming platforms. So if you guys like it, listen to it, buy the album, all that good stuff. I'm really excited about that. And now I'm taking me a nice little sabbatical from music for a little bit, and I'm gonna continue living life so I can come back fresh with fresh ideas and give the world something different on the music side.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I love that. I feel like this has been a transitional period for a lot of us. We've talked about spring cleaning and all that stuff a lot here in the last few episodes, and yeah, it's been a transitional time for me too. I not necessarily pleasant. I'm kind of looking for work, but it's God doesn't close doors without opening doors, and all of us are growing and changing and in an opportunity to really learn a lot of new things, I think, right now. So
Oh yeah.
it's been very good.
Oh yeah. This is a wide open door. It's a blank canvas. We are the architects here in this human form. I do feel that the design has already been made for us, and it's something that we have to be able to now. We're being put to the test of, can we draw the picture that's been given to us? Yeah, and that's for another episode. But that's where I agree with you as far as transitions go. It went from looking at a picture that was given to us of these things to the blank canvas. So what are we gonna do with it?
This is the great time, the great opportunity to do that. I think that's really to kick off what we're talking about in this episode today. We're talking about fair trade. And the reason we're talking about fair trade and not free trade is we've had a time for the last, I don't know how many years, of free trade, and the opportunities that you're talking about, they haven't been there. But right now I feel like this is the time, the moment, and it's being artificially created to be fair. Right? There's these balances and imbalances, and we're going to talk a little bit about the history of it all tonight. There's a great video that I just finished watching from Army of Spies on the subject matter of tariffs and Cardano. I definitely recommend the audience check that one out as well. We should include a link to it probably in the description, I think, also. And there's a lot of history behind all of the tariffs and stuff right now, and where we got into this situation after World War II with with the tariff agreements being imbalanced, where you've got other countries that are charging 30%, 20%, 40% tariffs on American goods going into those countries, and yet we might have a 0% tariff on their goods coming into our country, right? I know a lot
Right.
of people look at what we're doing right now as being aggressive, as being unfair, as being very, the United States is all of a sudden trying to start conflicts around the world. And that's not what is really going on here. I think that's where it's important to have a multitude of sources of information so that we can think and make up our own minds about what's really going on, right? And this is going to be maybe one of the first times we really start getting into politics and what we think about these matters. This is an opinionated show. So fight me in the comments, if you disagree with something that we're saying here, tell us what you think. How is this affecting you in your country? We're in the United States. We're looking at it from that point of view. So, but all of that said, I think that what you're talking about, just to bring it back around to us
Yeah.
individually, there really presents opportunities now because of this, because of all of this. Might be one of the best opportunities to start a business in the United States if you live here.
Oh, I agree with that wholeheartedly. This is the cool part about the blank canvas. We'd start drawing the things that we want, the things that you desire, and all of that's great. But the work that you have to put in to do it, but the opportunity to even put in the work is, I want to say, readily available is there's not the right words to use right now, but it's at your fingertips. I would say that much. I feel like there were a lot of loopholes there before for a lot of things, and I say a lot of loopholes because me personally, I don't come from business, or at least I didn't have that business instinct. It was something that I had to develop over time. And then once you start to understand business, or just the parameters of it, you start to realize some of these things that were really right in front of you that you didn't, you weren't educated enough to know. And like you said earlier, and I don't want to beat that one too hard, but you hit the hammer on the head with this. This is definitely it's opinion at the end of the day. It is, and but what we want to do with our insight is to be able to provide an objective perspective and how we're looking at these things, because we're all aware of the propaganda that has been influencing us for centuries now. So let's take another angle at something that just we as humans can all come into an agreement with when it comes to this. Politics is not easy. It's not, but hey, it it's a topic. It's a subject. Some people choose to steer away from it. Dunamis and I like to grab the bull by the horns, and we like to ruffle feathers.
Yeah. And even then, like, to be fair, in the first 18 episodes of this podcast, we really haven't gotten too deep into ruffling those feathers, and that's fine, because that's not really our purpose is to empower individuals, like we say, right? we're
Right.
we're trying to educate people. And on the subject of Trump, we we need to discuss the elephant in the room. His image with his fist up in the air is emblazoned across our meme token that is the namesake of this podcast. And so the question would remain, does that mean that we support Trump? Does that mean that this project is a pro-Trump project? Does that, and
Mm,
all of that stuff is a very fair question to ask. And I would say not specifically, but we're not anti-Trump either. This project, I think I voted for Trump. I'll just come out and say that I voted for Trump, and I think that he is the best solution for America. I don't think that we need to put our personal goals, our personal life, our personal future in the hands of a politician, no matter who it is.
right.
So So that's where I draw the line in terms of this project. At least one of the founders of this project, I am pro Trump in that I voted for him as a politician. And I hope he does the best that for this country. I really have the best hopes for him. And I think that I would say, and I think I said this earlier when we were talking, I think that there's probably about a 70% chance that a lot of the things that he's trying to pull off here with the tariffs and these trade wars is going to actually play out in a positive way over time. I think that that balance will be achieved. I'm not in the camp that I think that he's going to you start World War III, or we're going to the world is going to cascade into a new Great Depression. I don't think that we're heading for that direction, but that's a possibility. That's something that we have to at least acknowledge could happen.
Yeah, everything's a gamble at the end of the day. Everything's a 50-50 with this. And I will say this, I've always wanted a leader that put the people first. And that's always been my MO. That's always been my thing. So y'all take of that as you will. That is the mystique in the Izzy. So you'll never know. But just know that my thought is always with the people. And I feel that when you are more people oriented and we're less secretive, and you have less things to hide, or just no things to hide. How about that? Let's not even throw in the white lie, right? Let's just be transparent about that. The whole "you can't handle the truth." Well, it's because you've conditioned us to not handle the truth, because you've been withholding the truth, because you've been lying. So that part. So you can't handle the truth either. So because you don't want to tell us the truth, whatever the truth is. But again, another esoteric conversation for another time. So yeah, with all of that being said, I don't see any of these political leaders, and this may be me being a bit naive, I don't feel that any of these political leaders want to just leave their people all in shambles and everyone just wants to go to war. I feel that, again, is just propaganda from the media to incite division and have us all up in arms worrying about things that we don't need to be worrying about. I genuinely feel like there is a true level unconscious of peace, that there are things that are going to, I don't want to say fall into place, because it's going to take work. Everything that you want to happen, like good, right? It takes work. I feel like it just takes a lack of communication to fail. Gosh, it's a cliche now, but Rome wasn't built in a day. And in fact, it's better that it wasn't built that way. It's like kind of cool that it wasn't built that way, and that stuck with me. I laughed a little bit and I chuckled, but I really liked it. Just, I think about it like music. I mean, sometimes the projects will come, or maybe it's not necessarily the song itself that takes the longest time. It's just the overall inspiration behind it. But I digress from that. We've got to keep the the nuances out of this and really see it for what it really is. And I think that that's actually a good time to transition into the history of this and where this all came from.
Absolutely, yeah. The Bretton Woods Agreement is one of the main central issues around this, and that agreement, stemming from about 1944, I believe, was right before the end of World War II, where the Allied nations came together. And not only did we get a different sort of global standard, where we at one point in time we had a global gold standard, which fell apart right around World War I. At the end of World War II, we were replacing it with a global US dollar standard. And the idea being that the United States would hold the gold. We had most of it in the world at the time, anyways, I think. And if we had the gold, then we could issue funds in US dollars that could be exchanged or redeemed for gold. And the countries could then base their currency on the US dollar. And the US dollar would be as good as gold, right? So that became that standard. Incidentally, one of the other things that is not really talked about during Bretton Woods is the tariff and trade agreements that got put in place at that time. So there was basically a situation where a lot of these countries had been destroyed or greatly had their economies greatly diminished because of World War II, and the United States had the strongest economy in the world. So, as a part of this agreement, it made sense for nations like France and nations, like Germany and England to tariff the United States so that our great industrial base could help to rebuild and fund Europe and these nations, and then we would have zero tariffs in return, or very low tariffs in return, to help these countries get on their feet. And my understanding, and again, this is a cursory understanding. I've watched probably 4 or 5 really in-depth videos to get an understanding of this, and I've read a number of articles, but I'm not an expert. I am not a global geopolitics expert, and I'll be the first to say that. But my understanding was that that imbalance continued after World War II for a period of time, and then we found ourselves in wars in Korea and Vietnam and other places around the world that also had to be rebuilt. And again, these countries would put tariffs 20, 30, 40%, whatever it was, on US goods going into those countries. Those tariffs never came down after the fall of the Soviet Union. And that's the problem that we find ourselves in today. Is the United States is not necessarily as powerful, and as it's like you're taking blood from a patient, and this patient has been giving blood for 40, 50, 60, 70 years, however long it's been. The patient is not going to live much longer if you're just going to keep taking blood from the patient. This tariff situation is an emergency from the point of view of Americans. This is a national emergency to save the patient. So I understand that the rest of the world probably feels slighted or that it's unfair, but you can't keep taking the blood from the patient until the patient dies and then expect to be able to continue to get blood from the patient. So I know that's maybe a dark analogy, but the United States has been giving and giving and giving and giving in this respect. And I say this respect to also just kind of clarify that I understand the nuances of all of the harm the United States has also caused around the world during the same period of time. So this is not just a situation where we have given money out all over the world. We've also exported, CIA operations and all sorts of clandestine things that we probably need to apologize for all over the world. So it's an ugly situation that I think Trump finds himself in this country finds itself in, and it's not an easy situation to survive without getting into a kinetic war. And I believe that Trump does not want the United States to enter or start or be involved in a World War III. And I believe there are forces around the world that want us to be involved in a World War III and are trying very hard to make that happen.
I can see maybe there being a thought that could provoke a, a mindset of security and protection of the people. Again, too, as a world leader, it's not easy, man. It's not, because you're talking about centuries and things that have been just at law for a long time, even before you. And I feel that there's a lot of these laws, these unwritten laws, that are also embedded into the government system.
You're talking about the deep state, and this is exactly so. World leaders is actually the wrong word, and you're exactly talking about it's the embedded. It's the stuff that's embedded, man. Keep going. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you
Oh
off. That
no, you're good, man. And listen, if you're inspired from that, then please, by all means, take the wheel. I just, I'm looking at it from a, solutions standpoint of we've got to find the common denominator here, and these are just the realities, that some of the realities that we have in looking at it. But again, a lot of these unwritten laws, when you think about freedom and you think about what is this and what is that, and you think about why this happened and why this happened, and um, you know uh, like you mentioned, there's plenty of things that we did during those periods of times where we weren't the best people. I feel like this was something that maybe got carried out a little bit longer than it should with poor planning. Or it's just I don't want to say poor planning, because in the beginning it was something that it was needed. It was something that it was like, okay, and I want to expand on my okay, but I don't have that okay expansion right now. But looking at the strategy moving forward from all of that, it became a, oh no, it's one of those things where, nah, dude, nah, it's cool. Where you got the one friend, Ferris Bueller, who, you guys are going out to a burger and you've got 50 cents, and he's like, oh nah, dude, it's cool. My parents give me an allowance and I get like $100 a week, and burgers were like 50 cents back then, type of deal. And that's what it seemed like for a little bit. It was like, ah, nah, dude, it's cool. It's like, we're gonna get through this together. We're gonna get through this together. But then there becomes a level of like gratitude that's missed in that. And then greed, and then ego and power and control and unwritten laws.
that's exactly it. You know, if anything, Trump threw out a volley, right? To just sort of see what I believe that there will end up being deals made out of this. I don't think we're going to end up with a forever tariff situation around the world. That doesn't make sense. There are maybe countries that we need to continue to have tariffs on, and that's maybe why he needs to make these bespoke deals with individual countries. But I definitely think that this situation, if it handles itself correctly, and there's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of things that could happen to screw this up, to make things go wrong. But if everything were to happen the way it should, you would see these countries that had high tariffs on American goods bring their tariffs down, and then the United States would bring the retaliatory tariffs down.
Yep,
We
you
would we
got
would
it.
make things fair at that point. It's it's about keeping, free trade is fine if it's free both ways. It has to be fair trade. It can't just be 0% tariffs on every country around the world, and then they can tariff us however much they want. That does not make any sense. And that is where we get that blood being sucked from the patient analogy. I mean, that it just cannot happen sustainably. It had to end at some point. And I feel like the way Trump is doing it might be a little bit of a shock. It might be violent, but if anything, it's a wake up call. And I feel like Israel at least got the message right away. They dropped all their tariffs on American goods to zero before the whole thing got started. And
That did
it,
happen really quick.
yeah, if I would love to see Canada do the same thing. I would love to see Mexico do the same thing. I don't want to see conflicts between these countries, right? I don't think Trump wants to see conflicts between these countries. I think like you said, I think all of these there's problems that puts these other countries in though. And I think a lot of these problems have always existed, but they're coming to the surface now. And because Trump took action, because he initiated something, it's now causing all these other side effects.
Yeah. What do you think the biggest friction, America has with China, with all this, or what's China's issue with America? Like, what's the biggest? What's your thought on the economy with China? and these tariffs, because it's it looks like a bidding war.
I feel like the situation with China is similar to the situation with all the other countries around the world, only magnified. It's a situation where their entire economy is based on exporting goods made in their factories to our country. Maybe not just to the United States, but I would imagine a large amount of it. And because of that, as much as that sounds, getting really great, inexpensive goods, that's so great for the US consumer. But you have to think about it from the point of view of the small business owner. If I'm trying to sell the same product, it does not help me that that product comes into the United States made with slave labor for much cheaper than I can produce it. It doesn't help me at all.
Yeah,
You know,
it kills it.
it kills my business.
Yeah. I mean,
And
it all you have is just, you're paying more for a quality product, which, yeah,
and that should be good enough, except it really isn't, because if I mean if you can produce something much cheaper, it's going to win out. It's ultimately going to win out.
yeah,
And that's where I think these tariffs in the short term have to be. It's really a band-aid on the situation, more like a tourniquet really to stop the bleeding. And the problem is we are, and just to start to shift this a little bit too, from how we got here and where we're at, to I think what needs to happen as a country. And we can even apply this individually, so stick around, because the problem with the United States is overconsumption. And
yep,
all we became, we took all of the great industrial power of this country, and we had all this wealth, and we decided to consume and not work and enjoy all the conveniences and the cheap stuff that could get shipped in from all around the world. The problem is a lot of Americans lost their jobs. People that worked in factories building cars, people that worked in coal mining plants, to people that manufactured all sorts of goods that now could be produced in other parts of the world for much cheaper. So what happens? What's the consequence of all these people losing their jobs and not having those things, because there are so many Americans that are doing well because they have assets, and those assets go up in price, right? And then there's all these Americans that do well because we produce financial services in the United States. So if you are a banker, or you work for a bank, or if you're involved in financial services, or maybe you're a programmer, you might be doing okay in the United States. But for a lot of other people, especially people that went through an education system started by John D. Rockefeller, designed to make factory workers out of the population, it doesn't really leave you a whole lot of choices. I mean, the system is designed to educate people to work in factories. Then we shipped all of our factories all over the world so that we could get cheap stuff. Now we have people that are capable of maybe working in a factory, but there's no factories for them to work in. And we get
hmm
the complaint that people don't want these jobs. People won't take these jobs. People won't work in a field or in a factory. They want to sit at home and watch Netflix. It just doesn't cut it anymore. We need to make stuff in this country again.
right. Man, you hit on a lot of key points, and I feel that there's a couple things I want to bring up. One, when we initially had these businesses here over in the States, again, the a higher worker status and so on and so forth, we were able to, we had decent pay, back then, and like the cost of living, I mean, somewhat made sense, a little bit more sense. Um, and then once they lost their jobs and we had to go overseas, now we've built relationships with, these people overseas, and, we've got those ties. So on the collateral damage side, you're looking at it from a, hey, I gotta go, or I gotta reroute. Otherwise, like I'm not doing this 125% tariff or whatever this is, like you got to look at it from the other end too. What if that was them doing it to you? And not saying that it was a bad thing, that it's a bad thing, not saying that at all. But you don't think that they would have been, well, we need to have another conversation. You don't think that would have been the case?
Think of companies like Apple Computers, and they're all of their iPhone. All of the iPhones are basically built in China.
You see
I
how
mean,
quick they flew over here.
well, they're still like, I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, I don't know how much of their stuff they can quickly build in the United States. I don't know how much that
Well,
can
I think
change
they flew phones. I think they flew a bunch of phones, like
all over
millions of
that were already
phones.
built.
Yeah, they flew them over here, and I don't know what's next. I haven't delved a whole lot into that. So if there's anybody that's got any more information on the Apple,
Yeah, tell us
then
in the
please
comments.
feel free to share that in the comments. Yeah,
Yeah.
most
But I could
definitely.
definitely, that's the first company that comes to mind though, in terms of, you know, unintended consequences, right? They were playing according to the rules at the time. They were
Yep.
doing everything that they thought that they could do by moving and having production heavily set up in China. So there's definitely unintended negative consequences, I think, that come as a part of this. It's just like any other, we keep using, or I keep thinking about a patient, a sick patient, but it's just like having a surgery or cutting a tumor out. I mean, I feel like we definitely have, because things have become so imbalanced, there is potentially a period of time even this year where we may have to go through a recession to come out of this strong on the other side, right? If this ends up creating a world where things are more fair, are more equal around the board, and other countries can benefit from the production of the United States, and the United States can benefit from the production of other countries, and it becomes more of an even playing field. The problem is, on the one hand, with tariffs, like we say, it was so imbalanced in the direction of other countries, but in the power field, things have been so imbalanced in the direction of the United States in terms of security and what we were able to do, clandestine or not, around the world. The United States has had too much power in that regard, just like we've consumed too much. So to not only flip this in a on a national sense, because what we need to do as a nation is produce more. We need to have those factories built. We need to have those good jobs. And I would be glad to take one of those jobs. I would love to have a great, well-paying factory job. I see absolutely nothing wrong. I think that seems like a very dignified profession. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that at all. And I would love to have more of those jobs in the United States.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And just the job roles that you can have in those companies too, because those can be big things. I mean, you have the management positions, and you have growth systems too. Just so there's initiative to be there, there's incentive to go and have systems like that where we're looking at somebody with knowledge, experience, tenure, who understands the company and the hiring from within and that kind of deal. But also, there's a balance for all of this stuff at the end of the day. But yeah, just all in all, I just want to see more opportunities for people that are, going to career schools, that aren't going to college,
Mm.
more of the hands-on. And they have those opportunities to do that, and they can build and be project managers, and those companies can help pay for schooling if you wanted to do engineering or something along those lines. And the possibilities are endless. It just, again, that just builds more, just education systems and just other ways, like we're breaking past these norms of like, oh, you got to go to college for 4 years and do that and be in debt. Okay. And that's just another one of those systems, man. That's just another one that just got ran into a muck. It
Mhm.
became more of a and the thing of it was like it was a lose-lose because if you could afford it, then you had to pay out of pocket for it. But if you couldn't afford it, then you got a loan, but then you'd have to pay it back.
Yeah, and the thing that you're saying about the trade schools, before we move on, I definitely think that that focus is, that's something that I think is gonna be really, really important here in the future, and we just have to you have to look at it like you're creating value. While we talk about bringing factories back and getting jobs and all of this sort of stuff, I want us to think about this more on an individual level. And have you spent too much of time in your life consuming, whether it's Netflix or pizza or news or whatever kind of stuff we've consumed over the years that was either unnecessary, that could be cut out? I think that's a big part of what we need to do as individual Americans. Now, I say that as myself. I'm speaking to myself, and trying to I'm not trying to judge any other person. I'm not saying this to anybody in any other country, especially anyone who's starving. Believe me, I'm saying as an American, I've consumed too much. I have let my life become uninspired, and that changes with action.
Yeah. And I feel like you know, too, because I feel like this could be a good transition and maybe I don't know, maybe I can read your mind here. But just going back into when we were talking about assets, and you're
Mhm.
talking you know, when you think about assets and what those really are, I think about gold and silver. I think about those being just some very important things that will always have value. They don't change in that space. Like gold is gold, silver is silver. And I think about that, and I think about, you know, the working class, you know, here in America, and I think about that. How many working class have invested in silver or gold or, you know, have these certain assets set up in place? So how do you expect someone to like really think about that? Now, on the other end, too, the assets now are Netflix, are the convenience of going to the fast food restaurant, is DoorDash, and it's these things like now these are the assets, but these assets are not, they're not, there's
Yeah.
no value to it because guess what? You still lose money. You still lose it at the end of the day. And now you're making, now the market is twice as high and you're still making what? And that's what I'm trying to say. We need to reevaluate our assets.
We do. And our priorities.
Yeah.
For sure, man. I completely agree with that. The it's what we're saving that value in, and that should grow over time. This whole trade imbalance thing can be looked at as the United States has been living a very unhealthy lifestyle for a long time. And I can say as an American that I've been living a very unhealthy lifestyle for a long time. And
Same.
it's time to like look at that and change,
Yeah, we're supposed to be. We need to stop throwing our kids under the bus. You
man.
know, on some, you know, and everyone around the world. That's for everybody. You can find me in the comments for it. We got to stop doing it, man. Our kids are looking at us like this is okay, and we're just it's just history repeating itself, man. And that's why I feel like you know, just living in this time in this generation that I specifically live in, our generation has been through a lot, and you know, you've been through a lot too, Dunamis. I mean, you've seen a lot, you've experienced a lot, and you know, I'm almost 34 years old, and I think about that, and I think about all of the things that have happened. I mean, we've had some great weather storms, and a lot of different political figures, and some wild runnings, man, some wild runnings, especially with this one. But you know, for once, I feel like there's somebody, and again, you guys can find me in the comments. I really do feel like we have somebody in office that is thinking about people, and you gotta read past all the extra stuff. And oh, you know, the antics. Yeah, is he sure? But what's he really doing at the end of the day? And at the end of the day, guys, outside of from all of this propaganda, what you all need to realize anyway is that true wealth is not in your cars, is not in any of that jazz. All of it's from the land, bro. Think about where all those things come from in the first place. Y'all got to remember that. And look at where we're at. They moved us out in the city to get the land. So then when we want to go back and get the land, land done went up now. Stop being fools, y'all. Reading between the lines. This is an important episode.
It is. Land is definitely a great goal to have. Everyone's going to have a different purpose and a different goal, but if you were thinking about starting a business, or you were thinking about getting land, or you're thinking about doing some of these things, there's a reason, I believe God puts these things in us at certain times for that very reason, so that these things can play out in life for our good and for our benefit. And I believe that you should start to pay attention. I'm not saying this is not financial advice. I'm not saying sell all your stuff and go out and buy land and move out to the country. What I'm
Not
saying
at
is,
all. Yeah.
I'm saying you should definitely start listening to that gut feeling, though, right? Pay attention to it, because there's a reason for it. And I definitely feel like, just like in the Great Depression, there were shakeups. There's been major shakeups throughout the world at different times, and people that start businesses in the midst of those shakeups are oftentimes set up very well to prosper and be wealthy in the future. And it could be anything. It could be just babysitting if you're real young. It could be walking your neighbor's dogs. It could be, you could be decide that you want to become, when you talk about trades, I think of the, a welder or a blacksmith or a carpenter. Maybe somebody's really excited about swords, and they actually go and take the time to learn how to blacksmith, whether it's in a modern sense or in an ancient sense. There is going to be place for that value, and there will be, I believe there's going to be a market for that, especially in a tariff situation. Now, again, if the tariffs don't stay, that's a good thing too, because if the tariffs don't stay, that means that the other country has lowered their tariffs. So that only means that we now have markets internationally that we can sell to. So I believe that the American small business owners have been at a disadvantage artificially, and things have been more difficult than they need to be artificially, especially since COVID. When the
Mm.
lockdown and COVID happened, it was like the death nail. But things happen in cycles. There's a rotation, and it comes around again. And so if you're aware of it, if you see it, understand that opportunities happen, and that instinct that gets put in your gut, you follow it. It could be the best thing that ever happened to you, but you got to take
Real.
the risk.
So real, man. I don't even know how to piggyback off of that one, man. I'll be honest with you. That's just good stuff right there. That is. Um, I like what you mentioned about the, like, when you look at it how it is, and it's very radical, and how, we've got these high tariffs, and the goal is to balance this out. The goal is to just come to that agreement of, hey, I have my stuff, you have your stuff. Let's just play nice, man. At the end of the day, stop thinking about it as this, like, you owe me a favor, oh, you owe me a favor. We've owed each other favors, and we've been in debt for trillions of dollars for a really long time. Let's talk about how to get out of debt. Oh, yeah. And is it bigger than 4 years? Yeah, for sure. But again, I also feel that other leaders that come after that should be able to complement those things and have that as the main focus. I feel like we need to go back and look into this Constitution. I think we need some amendments.
We're talking the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah, we need some amendments. Yeah, if you guys
Yeah.
want Izzy Human to be a part of some amendments and what we're talking about here, go ahead and let him know. I can't be elected president yet.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I don't want to be president.
Oh, I definitely wouldn't want to be president.
I hope that we're able to just see a good, just a good balance of people just being able to, look at these goods as just, like good resources. Like just we've got better resources now versus just you owe us favors. I
Oh,
don't, we got to get over that. And I feel like that's a long line of history of just owing people favors, and I feel like we've been pointing fingers and blaming for a really long time, and you know, um, people like us in this world who aren't in those rooms having those conversations and don't see the bigger picture. And who's to say that they even see the bigger picture? It's always easier said than done, they say, but why is it that? It doesn't have to be that way.
hmm.
If we just did more and said less, I feel that we would be in a better spot. And I think maybe earlier, when I was mentioning about other world leaders that would follow up on, the principles of certain things of just being able to maintain those good relationships, that's important. Instead of picking somebody that's going to just debunk everything. And I know that that was the narrative that they wanted to push with this is all of these executive orders that got signed and all of this and all of that. And there's so many other episodes that we're going to talk about, but I just, I feel like tariffs is just the big thing. It's something that it's been talked about, it's been a part of the plan. People are acting surprised, like, did you think it wasn't going to happen? This isn't the kid that's running for the class president that said that he's going to put a bunch of Fruitopia vending machines in your cafeteria. Okay. you know and I'm really proud of the initiatives and the action steps that are being taken this time around in presidency. I am impressed. I really am. And I've been able to watch a lot of videos and stay current with some of the executive orders and, get a lot of people that are smarter than me to just, hey, let me pick your brain, about this, is it, we all talk about leaning towards one direction and leaning towards another direction. So really finding a fit, there's going to be collateral damage, and a good friend of mine also mentioned that, about suffering as well. And just because in life there is suffering doesn't mean you have to suffer. And I feel that is something imperative to embed in your mind, just like with narratives. There's a lot of people that are educated, like doctors and lawyers and things like that that do this stuff too. That'll just see something that they had seen on one side of the moon, and then they put it out there. And I feel like when you, whether you like it or not, people, you're in positions, and people look at you different when you're in certain positions. And I think that just with our roles in life too, and I think we all have an obligation to just be better, be better human beings, so we can, see the things that we want changed. So outside of that portion, just going back into, we've got more prominent figures. So just remember where we're at in the world and always continue to be kind, of course. But I think that this is just one of those storms. And if we just bypass these narratives and we really just let things grow, like, man, come on. What instant flowers, y'all, for real? What are
It,
instant? Like, this isn't instant oatmeal, dog. You still got to put some shit in the microwave. You know what I mean? You still got to boil the water. You know what I mean? You can't just blow on the oats and then it just turns into oatmeal. I feel like that's just what people want. And I feel like that's that instant gratification that we've, unfortunately become addicted to. And now we got to break a habit.
yeah, it's not fun to break a habit.
No, it is not. It
No.
is not, man. But it's what needs to be done. And we've been sugarcoating it for a really long time. And I feel like the people have spoken. Whether people like in this whole MAGA thing, I think it's funny too on some of the dating apps. Oh yeah, I'm getting a little deep. Um, on the dating apps, they said will not do MAGA, and I'm like, is that really a thing
Oh,
for real?
that's a great filter, man. Like that's it, you save yourself some insane. I'm gonna get in trouble for saying things now, but you guys go ahead and fight me in the comments. If tell me that if somebody has that in their profile, regardless of your political affiliations, you're asking for trouble. That's all I'm saying. And you can
Yeah.
fight me in the comments if you don't agree.
Like, why do you say that? Why? That's so like it's just one more thing to latch on to. It's just some other stuff. You know what? And like what's it gonna be in 4 years? No tables. Like, all right, bro. Like get out of here. I'm so tired of it. That it's just silly stuff like that where I'm just like, we literally latch on to anything and everything for entertainment and sorrow. And I
or
said this
or
to
or even hope. Like that's where the
yeah,
politician can't become the everything. You have to just he's not the enemy, he's not the worst person in the world, he's not worse than Hitler, and at the same time he's not Jesus either. You know what I'm saying? He's
right
not going to come in and save us all from
at
from
all.
our horrible lives. We just have to understand that he's somewhere in between. He's a human.
Right.
He's a human. He's gonna hopefully do his best, and hopefully not screw things up. And I really, 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 really am rooting for him. But but at the same time, I gotta recognize that if I put my hope in him, then I've already lost.
Exactly.
Because we don't put our hope in a man. That's not unless it's the Son of Man.
Boom. Ooh, and that's a whole dude, I feel like that needs to be not like nah, like just not fight for religion because no. Um
We fight for faith. How's that?
y-
That sounds fight for
yeah.
faith. Because
Is that different from hope?
In fact, First Corinthians, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love.
I feel like I set you up to like end this.
Well, it's about that time, and I would say that it's a really deep and difficult conversation to kind of summarize what we've been talking about. And for a lot of people, this might be upsetting. For others, I feel like I'm going to upset people either way. Like if you're a Trump supporter, you probably came in saying, "Wait a second, this guy that founded the project is not an abject Trump supporter." And then you're going to have people in here, liberals that just can't understand the fact that I don't think that Trump is evil, because I don't, you know. And we have to understand, like in life, I with such a contentious subject, I would just say in life, we need to learn how to think for ourselves and not just listen to what anyone tells you. And don't just listen to what I say. If anything, I'm just telling you to think for yourself. And we're going to come back here next week with a whole nother topic, but I know this was a heavy one. If you've made it this far to the end, let's drop a US flag emoji in the comments to show us that you made it.
Shoo shoo.
And I always have
Oh,
a blast doing this with you, Izzy. And I know it's been a really crazy last few weeks, but I feel like we're getting into a groove, at least, of understanding the seriousness of what we're talking about, and hopefully we have a great topic next week too. So
I'm really excited, and I feel the exact same way. Next, wow, man, episode 20,
come
y'all.
on. Yeah.
Episode freaking 20. We gotta, man, I tell you what, we gotta start talking about some giveaways here at some point.
Oh, what a great idea. Hmm. Let's definitely plan to announce a giveaway at the midpoint of our next episode.
I love it. Now you guys really gotta stay tuned.
Awesome. Well, until next time, man, never give up the fight.
Never give up the fight.
Try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain. Pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane. Pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test and expect nothing less. You check as I'm chess, what's happening next? Yeah. He got the venom, a tangible weapon, no coming in second. This life is a lesson. He got a new engine from pain, that's a blessing. New focus, no guessing, just bold and obsession. All in his possession, you got their attention. I leave an impression and take a redemption. Just kill, no discretion. Your mind is a weapon. 11-11, it's time for progression. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they're scheming. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try the chains, you can say no, free me. So he's been looking for somebody who could save him, instead of searching inside for what they gave him. A strong will, strong mind causes mayhem. We could change the world, change times, rearrange them. Staying on pace, running the race. Life is a chase, I don't want a place, I wanna be first. Work till it hurts, dehydrated thirst till I'm in a hearse. High ambitions and the right mind can take you so far. It's like you lived a few lifetimes. Take off from a break off from the weak minds, they can stay soft. You can change lives, you create thoughts, never waste time. You got one shot, you got one life, better pop off. What do you like? Make a dream job. No 9-5, no mean boss, just my life and free thoughts. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they're scheming. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try the chains, you can say no, free me.